there, my name is Caroline. Welcome back to ReleDate, the blog where I talk about the Bachelorette and try to tie it to relationship science. So, we had a very busy week. It was the first week of dates, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to talk about some things that maybe went really well for Katie, some things that felt like they were expected, and then some other things like the big blowout that she had there at the end. So let's start with the first group date where they had to, I'm trying to understand the principle. Like they had to show their sexual nature or how they are sexually to Katie in some sort of performance. And so who stuck out more than anyone but Mike? Mike is still the person that came in claiming to be a virgin. He may be a virgin, but the person coming in as a virgin. And so he had the best one-liner that stuck out from anyone, and that is intimacy comes in so many forms. And so I loved this quote because there is a lot of truth in this. It's not just sexual intimacy that's important in relationships. It's physical intimacy. It's emotional intimacy. It's feeling safe, feeling wanted, or feeling like you want to be around that person. And so for him to take on that perspective was incredibly important and really validating to this process. It's not necessarily all about sex. We know that Katie is a very sex positive person. And Mike honestly looked like he was feeling really overwhelmed by the whole thing. But that line really does just sum it up and bring a lot of awareness to the fact that there are really important pieces of relationships. Sex is an important piece. However, there are many, many other important pieces of the relationship as well. So yeah, I thought that was great to see coming from him. The next one is her one-on-one date with Greg. And honestly, they picked something that they didn't realize was going to be so sentimental for both of them. For both of them having lost their fathers sort of recently, lost their fathers, at least in the past few years here. It was really touching to see them go on a date that really made them think about their dads and their families in a positive way. So for Greg, it was the fact that they got to go fishing. And for Katie, it was the fact that they got to go camping. And throughout this, like Greg didn't disclose at first that his dad had passed away a few years ago. He kept that to himself. And I think that goes to show that vulnerability is something that grows. It's not necessarily something that's just expected. And that's okay. It shouldn't be expected. It is something that should be, built upon. Not sharing all of your secrets all at once is not necessarily a bad thing, but it seemed to work really, really well for Greg and for Katie, that they were able to grow with each other. And it looked like a really good first date. They had some fun. They were laughing. They were giggling. They kissed at one point. So there was a little bit of that physical intimacy between them as well. So it looks like a good first date. I'm curious to see how Greg continues to do. So the last and the most major piece of this was the tension between Aaron and Cody on that group date. The last group date where they were wrestling in the mud. Aaron won, and that was fine. But during their one-on-one time together, Aaron shared with Katie some things that he knew about Cody. And that ultimately got Cody, kicked off of the show, got Cody sent home from the show because Aaron did not think that Cody was being really true and vulnerable and there for the right reasons. So this is important to point out. It's important to think about Katie's reaction. So Katie did try to sit down with Cody and have a conversation about it. And again, he got sent home, which is okay. But the fact that she was able to sit down and have a conversation about what happened or about what she heard was good. Later on, though, right before the rose ceremony, which we didn't get to see this week, we'll probably see it at the beginning of next week. But right before the rose ceremony happened, Katie comes into the room after having a conversation. And if you're not here for the right reasons, you need to go home. I don't know who in the house is not here for the right reasons, but you need to go home if you're not. She was coming in mad. She was coming in really mad. And this is not always the best way to deal with these situations where you hear something and you're upset by it. I know that they are, again, trying to create some TV drama here. Katie really could have benefited from taking 20 minutes to herself to calm down, to think about what was going on, and then decide what to do next. Instead, we see her coming back into the room full of men. Again, really, really angry, really mad. If you're not here for the right reasons, you need to go home. And we understand that. We want people to, I hope that Katie finds her person while she's there. However, this is a really tough way to go about having this conversation with all of these people or with this group of men. She could have taken that time to calm down. It can be really beneficial, even in our own relationships, to take 20 minutes to be able to breathe, to be able to collect our thoughts, and again, like lower our heart rates so that we're not as angry, so that we don't say things that we regret when we're going into situations like that. So that 20-minute time frame can be really beneficial for all of us in our relationships. And it really does make me wonder how Katie would have responded had she taken a few minutes to really calm herself, to really think about how she wanted to approach the situation instead of going in really, really mad at all of the guys. So this is something that I hope that she will maybe do in the future. I guess we will find out. I guess she did have that opportunity to calm down a bit between talking to Aaron and talking to Cody, which I think was great. But it could be, again, something that could be beneficial for her in the future and beneficial for all of us. It's okay to go to bed angry if we know that that conversation has not been productive and will not be productive for that night. It's not okay to go to bed unconnected, though. So that's an important distinction right there between you can go to bed angry and still have it be okay and still address the issues earlier or the issues the next day. Sometimes we don't have the ability to address issues unless we take that time for ourselves first. So yeah, that's my synopsis of the week. I'm excited to see how the rose ceremony goes, especially with them leaving it with all the drama that there was. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. And we will see you all next week. Bye.